Congratulations, Texas. Now that school has started again, we get to see the results of that new voucher law. Encore applause for delivering choice, but only to private profiteers. School vouchers are now officially law, but the only choice Texans got cheated out of was having functioning education systems in their rural districts. They called it school choice. I call it new paint on the same old crony wagon, because nothing screams freedom like turning your kid's education into a Black Friday doorbuster at Walmart. Remember the sales pitch? Parents deserve options. Sure, and Texans deserve functioning roads, fair taxes, and a grid that doesn't collapse when it gets a little chilly. But here's the trick. Vouchers don't create choice. They subsidize private choices with your tax dollars. And now your tax dollars are authorized to fund lobbyist-owned academies. That's not liberty. That's a law legalizing crony capitalism in cowboy boots. Take your money, strap it to a school bus, and drive it straight to their donors' bank accounts. In reality, we didn't end up getting vouchers for our kids. We got a state-sanctioned pass for lobbyists to go shopping. I mean, let's be real. If you're in a rural or partly rural district like ours, vouchers are about as useful as a lifeboat in the desert. There's no shiny private academy waiting to scoop up your kids in either rural Cook or Denton counties. You've got one school, maybe two, and they're public. Vouchers just strip money from those schools so that some hedge fund in Dallas can buy another wing for their Christian Academy of Networking Opportunities. But here's the con. Our so-called representatives knew that when they voted for it. Richard Hayes was in Austin pretending the voucher fight is some high-minded debate about liberty, as if he would actually know anything about real liberty. And Brandon Gill is in Washington tweeting about owning the libs while kids in his own backyard are left holding the bag. Neither one of them has the guts to admit the obvious. They don't want to make your kids' school better, because that would take actual work. Greg Abbott and the Republicans in the Texas legislature passed the voucher program so that taxpayer cash can flow into private schools, religious schools, and even corporations setting up fake academies. It's the oldest game in politics. Take tax money, funnel it into private interests, and sell it back to the voters as a gift. It's not school choice, and it certainly isn't about improving your kid's education. It's about political patronage. Think Tammany Hall with a Bible verse stapled to it, all shrink-wrapped into a nice little Hallmark commercial. Hayes hails a win that picked winners, and our kids weren't on the list. Gill grandstands in D.C. while barns in Congressional District 26 are better funded than classrooms. So the bill passed, and now the real games begin. Governor Abbott wanted vouchers so badly that he basically made it a loyalty test. Hayes, being told to jump, asked how high, and Gill is too busy building a Fox News resume to care what happens to classrooms in Pilot Point or Sanger. Meanwhile, real rural voters hate vouchers because they know the math. There's no private school in Sanger or Crum waiting to take your kid, so vouchers just strip money from the only schools you've got. And Democrats, they're too busy defending bloated bureaucracies that they can't admit that public schools need reform too. So what do we get? The usual circus, Republicans fighting Republicans, Democrats playing defense, and kids used as poker chips at the legislative casino. Who gets the money? Which private institutions get to expand? And who gets left with rickety public rooms and broken AC units? It's not reform, it's contract theater. Both parties lined up to clap while they got bigger private checks and parents walked out with smaller public school budgets. You don't get an education system, you get a political slot machines that only pay out for lobbyists in Austin who are too busy popping champagne because their new client, the taxpayers, don't even get to sign the check. Here's the part that neither of the old parties will tell you. You don't need a government-run scheme to empower schools. Education shouldn't be a government-run monopoly, and it damn sure shouldn't be a government-subsidized racket. You need local control, accepting responsibility, not subsidizing plutocrats in suits. Real reform is grassroots. Fund schools based on need, not graft. If parents want private schools, fantastic. Build them, run them, choose them. That's liberty. Real liberty isn't the government taking from all of us and then bribing us with our own money. Real liberty is letting families, local communities, and yes, even teachers innovate without bureaucrats and big donors pulling the strings. Let's stop pretending this law was ever about kids. When the state starts picking winners and losers with your money, that's not liberty. It's always just a payday for the well-connected. Vouchers are about contracts, donors, and campaign war chests. You want choice? How about the choice to keep your tax dollars in your school instead of somebody else's political project? Liberty, real liberty, isn't about giving lobbyists your money. It's about giving communities a fighting chance. Here's the truth. If politicians really wanted better schools, they'd fix the ones we've got. But fixing schools doesn't come with a campaign contribution attached. And in Texas politics, that's the only kind of homework they ever turn in. So the next time your so-called representative says vouchers are about the children, ask them this. If it's really about kids, why did public schools lose while private schools won? And why does the money always seem to follow the lobbyists instead of the students?